Everybody is born with a little something extra, and sometimes they just have to find it. A little something extra is that superpower that every single one of us has inside that motivates us and drives our passion and makes us do the things that we do.
We're all on the same team. Let's think about how we can make that team as inclusive as we can.
For those of you listening to our podcast right now, you can also check out our video podcast at alittlesomethingextrapodcast.org.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of A Little Something Extra. I am Nancy Gianni, and I am here with my daughter.
The GiGi.
The who? Where's your mic?
The GiGi, who never seems to use her microphone.
The GiGi.
There she is. And we have a very, very, very special guest that we're excited about.
Don't forget him.
Oh, sorry, I forgot to introduce Franco.
Hello, I'm the special guest. No, it is not me. I'm not that special, nor am I a guest anymore. I'm just a part of this thing.
You just have a seat at the table.
Yes, I do.
I like
Not
it.
at your couch, but I have a seat at my couch.
Yes.
My chair. But yes, we do have a very special guest today, and I'm very, very excited to have her on. I've been wanting to have her on for a while.
I know GiGi wants to say her name, but
I do.
you want to say it?
Yeah.
After Franco? Okay.
So.
Okay.
She loves her.
I'm
She
gonna
loves
I'm
her.
going to read her bio.
Done.
And that's the her name.
And then she can say her name.
Hold your microphone.
I will.
Okay, so today we're joined by Misty Coy Snyder.
Woo!
So she is a passionate advocate for individuals with Down syndrome and a very dedicated volunteer to GiGi's Playhouse, New York. They just had an event recently that we would love to have been a part of, but we'll hear about that in a minute. So Misty is an actor, a singer, a writer, an entrepreneur, and a content creator who's using her platform, The Happiness is Down Syndrome, to share inspiring stories and uplift families navigating a similar journey. So she also hosts the Bold Voices, Soft Hearts podcast. Misty highlights powerful stories of those finding their purpose through pain. She's also a proud mother to her son, Jedediah, and who has Down syndrome. And her advocacy work has taken her to the United Nations, as we saw her there, where she spoke on World Down Syndrome Day promoting inclusion and support for all. We are extremely blessed and honored to have her on our show today. And welcome to the show, Misty.
Oh my gosh. Thank you. And I'm so excited to be here. You guys are incredible. I love you guys.
Oh my gosh. I can't believe it was the first time we finally met in person at the United Nations, because I felt like I knew her through all your advocacy and everything that you do. I just felt like we were kindred spirits and we were friends, and I had never ever met you in person.
How
So
weird is that?
it was
I
so
felt
weird.
the same way. So we saw each other in the bathroom. I was like,
Yes.
hi.
Hey! And we talked about what humidity does to our hair.
Oh Lord. Oh Lord. The catalyst to cutting my hair. That
Oh my
day
gosh.
was rough.
Well, it looks awesome. And what we had said too, and it's so funny, is that, like, you know, both of us as parents, you know, we said that this is like God's way of telling us it's not about you. Who cares what your hair looks like? You are here to speak for the kids. And both of us, you know, we just embrace it. You're Jedediah's mom, I'm Gigi's mom, and we're out there doing what we have to do. And that's all there is to it. But I love the hair. If that was the catalyst to the change, it was good, because you look beautiful, baby.
Thank you. As do you always, both of
my
you.
gosh.
And you too, Franco.
Yeah, Franco.
Yes, thank you. I know you can't see me, which is kind of awkward, but you know, the audience can. So
Yes.
Caught a glimpse.
you can see my foot.
So let's start at the beginning. Let's start at the beginning of your journey, wherever you like to start. I mean, like, a lot of times people like always throw me off because they say, hey, blah, 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 and you're like, whoa, okay, wait, let me think about that. Where do you like to tell your story from?
Well, I guess straight from the diagnosis,
Yeah.
because for me, I had a prenatal diagnosis at 14 weeks, and it talk about curveball. I mean, I don't think anyone ever expects, you know, you just don't think. You think like those things happen to other people, right?
Right.
And so it felt like a ton of bricks. And I was really devastated in the beginning. And it's hard to talk about that now because of my elation for my son and the Down syndrome community. But I can still taste it when I talk about it. It's like a real tangible thing.
Every new baby, every new family that walks in here, I go back to where I went that day every single time.
Yep.
I remember the fear. I remember all of it 22 years later. I still remember it. I still remember it shook me to my core. So I get it. You still feel that with, you know, every new parent I talk to.
Yeah, and it sort of infiltrates, like you said, it sort of infiltrates your whole body and your mind.
100%.
So that I think that it's like a trigger when you hear someone or see someone saying what it's like for them. I
Yes.
instantly go back to what it was like for me. And I think that's to this day the reason I'm starting with that day in March of 2020 when I got the prenatal
Oh,
diagnosis.
whoa. You were
Um,
a COVID diagnosis too. Wow.
Literally 2 weeks before the whole world shut down. Yeah.
Oh my
And so
gosh.
I just instantly go back to that moment because that day is what drives what everything I do today, everything. Because I thought it was the end of my life.
Right.
I thought, okay, I'm going to be a martyr. I'm never going to have any joy again. I'm just going to walk around like with this like every stereotype came up in my mind,
Yep.
and I thought, well, I'm a sacrificial lamb to this thing, and I guess this is just my lot in life. And when I think about those thoughts now, I'm just like, oh my gosh, Misty, I wish I could go to you and tell you. I wish I could tell you how not only will you adore your son, adore him, like literally step in front of a bus for him and just like you will adore him, but you will also feel your gifts grow in a new way, and you'll be
Totally.
able to reach new people. And I mean, don't you feel that way,
Oh
Nancy?
my gosh, 100%. And faced my biggest fears, which were, my biggest fears were public speaking. It was still one of my biggest fears, and flying, things that I have to do every single day. Like
Wow.
the person she has been able to make me into, I would have not been without her.
Yes.
I have a question
Yes.
for both of you guys too. So like when you have that, when you think back to that fear that you guys felt when you got that prenatal diagnosis and every worst case scenario is going through your mind as a new mom, yours was a little different because Gigi was born and then you found out. But
Yeah.
do you think that's helped you in a way when you look back on it and you go, I wish I could have told you? Like, do you wish you would have been able to do it a different way? Or do you think that you have a different perspective now because you got to face that fear?
I think for me, that's a good question. I guess I wouldn't change a thing because it brought me to where I am now.
Mhm.
The only thing I would change is the way the news was presented to me, and that's
Sure.
outside of myself.
Mm-hmm.
If I hadn't gone through the feelings and emotions and the grief and the pain that I did, I would not be able to speak so freely to moms who are in it right now.
Right now.
You know,
Right.
I wouldn't have that compassion and empathy. And yeah, I get it. I was there. But I would love to change the sadness and the solemn tone in the doctor's voice.
Totally. Yeah, the lack of celebration. A typical baby's born, you got that celebration, and here you have more condolences, and they're sending in the clergy. Everyone's saying they're sorry, and here you have a beautiful baby, or you're carrying a beautiful baby.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That-
100%. But I think all of it led us to
Yeah.
where we are now. If we hadn't
100%.
experienced it the way that we did.
Yeah, absolutely. And 80% of people experience it that way. 80 to 90% of people, I would say, experience it that way from the stories that we still hear to this day, which is all the stuff that we're all trying to change. And there's still a long way for us to go, unfortunately.
Yes.
Yeah. So I do think, Franco, that the way that I felt, the way that they made me feel was my catalyst, and still is why I don't want other people to ever have to feel, and the way that, the negativity that
yeah.
surrounds the diagnosis.
I'm sure that's definitely the case for most advocates.
Yeah.
Especially parents.
Yeah.
And
for
making
sure.
sure that no other parent has to feel like that when their child's born, because it's been such a celebration since you've received that. It's been as good as it has been.
Yeah.
Which is awesome. It's so crazy to me too, Misty, and just in the fact that you got that diagnosis in March of 2020 and you've just been nonstop since then. I mean, you have been so good at being able to put your voice out there, becoming an advocate. And it's funny because like when we were in the United Nations a couple weeks ago, because you and GiGi and Nancy were on the same panel, it's so crazy that I feel like you've been in this world for so much longer. Like you've had such a presence
Yes.
here in the last 5 years now. Exactly 5 years. that you've done such an incredible job doing that. So it's just like, tell us a little bit about like when that journey started and how you wanted to become an advocate and how you wanted to put your voice out there.
And did you start this when you were still pregnant, or was it once Jedediah was born?
Once Jed was born. So I will say that I'm an all or nothing person.
Yeah.
So I'm all in it or I'm not at all.
Totally.
And I realized after I saw my genetic counselor 2 days after the diagnosis, we had a really bad delivery of the news from our OB, and we had a really great genetic counselor,
Oh.
which is that is not usually the story that is told, but in our case,
Wow.
she could tell by the way I walked in that if she even mentioned alternatives,
Yeah.
I was gonna like punch her.
Right.
And like she sensed it. I could tell. And I just really felt like the presence of God in that room, because I was gonna fall apart at any minute. And she gave me some resources. She talked to me about how siblings, and I would love to hear your perspective on this, Franco, of how siblings so often say they are better humans because of their siblings with Down syndrome. She went all these different directions that my
Wow.
mind just went, wow, like, wow. So I came home that day and I was like, okay, I'm doing this.
I
I'm
got
going to find
this.
groups. I'm going to find other parents who are pregnant right now. I'm going to do all my research. I'm going to like, I don't know. Otherwise I'm going to self-combust.
Yeah,
Right.
right.
I have a husband. I have
Totally.
another son.
Yeah.
I have no choice. I got to go full fledged, and I haven't stopped since then.
No.
I really.
How old is your
So-
other son?
He's going to be 5 in August.
Okay, so they're how many? What are they? Just like a year apart?
My older son was 2.5 when Jed was born.
Oh,
So
wow.
he was an itty bitty
Yes.
when I was going through all this. And you know, one of the hardest things for me to think back on is I don't know what kind of mom my
You were-
Clay Bay
Oh
had.
my
Like
gosh, yes.
I was just so immersed. And
Yeah.
I think about that for Jed in utero. Like I would sing to him when I was of right mind, because I knew the amount of stress and fear was
that
just
he was
off
feeling.
the
Yeah.
charts.
Wow.
So I really try to overcompensate in like, okay, I'm going to like feed my head and my heart with community, with good stories. I talk to parents who have had small children with Down syndrome, old children with Down syndrome, everything in between. And
Yeah.
I just it was almost like I was doing a research paper.
Wow. That's awesome. Yeah, but
For sure.
but you again finding that positive energy, because that's hard to do around that diagnosis. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
So finding those positives and hearing that stuff is so important, because like 22 years ago when she was born, there was like only places to go where they put adults. I was like, wait, what? Where's all the
Yes.
kids? Like that's why I started GiGi's. I
Right.
was like, where's the babies? Like I know there's babies around here.
Uh.
Why do I have to go to like Misericordia, which is a place here where adults with developmental disabilities go to live and you know, and I was like that there was really nowhere else for me to go to find parents. You know, there wasn't groups.
Wow.
We didn't really there was like one support group, but it wasn't, I mean, it was great. You know, it was a support group, but it wasn't that chance for me to be around other
Mhm.
families. And I was like a stalker. If I saw someone at the mall, I'm like, hey, I got one too. Hey, over here. So it's so great now that like that at least we have more resources, but you know, there's still a sense of isolation.
For sure. And when Jed was born, I was so overwhelmed
Oh yeah.
by my love for him, and just
Oh.
almost otherworldly sort of feelings, just like
Wow.
I will do anything for you. And that's really, I mean, about 4 months into his life is when Happiness is Down syndrome was sort of born.
That's so awesome. What would have been your first like big video that you put out there? Like did you just right away start getting followers, or was it, I mean,
So I'm in musical theater, and there's a show called You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown, and there's a song called Happiness is Finding a Pencil. It's just happiness.
oh,
I woke up in the middle of the night and I started thinking about, okay, finding a pencil, 2 kinds of sausage, climbing a tree, telling the time. To me, it so captured all of the simple joys that Jed brought to me. Like
Wow.
I look at him and I'm filled with joy. And so I was like, okay, I want to make a video of moms with their babies, you know, with this song. And so I
Yep.
recorded the song, some other moms sang on it. I raised a little bit of money, and we did like with a Kickstarter, and made this video in 2021, and it came out, and it actually, Happiness is Down Syndrome, sort of became a landing page for that. If anyone saw it on YouTube, they could come and follow more stories. So
Sure.
we'd have stories from all over the world being told, and it could be like a come one, come all.
Right.
That was my, and I would love to share the one that I wrote, I Found My Way, which was iteration 2 that you saw at the UN.
3, 2, 1. Right now it sounds so fun, but it didn't feel that way. You're the one that I prayed for, the one that I waited for. 3, 2, 1. It surely sounds like fun, and I found my way to you. I didn't know what I was supposed to do, but I found my way to you, and I found my way through you. I didn't know what I was supposed to do, but I found my way through you.
My dad, who is a Hollywood musician.
Oh, is he really? That's where all this talent. I'm like, wait a minute. She sings, she dances, she's on Broadway, she's an actress.
Well,
like
the performance, if you don't sing in my family, you're like kicked out. So everybody sings, and very critical. Like, we're like, okay, you could have done better. But my dad was like, Misty, why don't you write a song? Like, you have so many thoughts, and I'm a writer sort of like by nature. I don't write songs per se, but he was like, just write a song and I'll chart it for you. Cause he's a transcriber. So if you write a song, he writes it all out.
Oh, I love it.
And he said, write a song and make your own videos. So you're never dealing with rights and usage and all that stuff. That
Yes.
this would have given me.
Yes.
So I just had it in my head, the 3, 2, 1, because when you're counting down a song, 3, 2, 1, and 3 copies of the 21st chromosome.
Yeah.
Kind of meant. So I wrote that, raised more money for that, made a video for that, and that's kind of like the commercial for Happiness is Down Syndrome. That video.
Gosh. I love it. Yeah, everybody needs to go watch that video too. We got to see
we'll
it
clip
firsthand.
We'll clip it in also
At the United Nations, which was really cool to be able to see that and see it played up on that big screen over there. Was very cool.
Yeah, it was incredible.
Special to see it up there.
Yeah, it doesn't it, because you're so intimate with it and you know every single piece of it, but to see it up on a screen where worldwide people are seeing it it hits you in a different way. We work on, when we work on videos and we do all this and and you're just in every detail of it, and then all of a sudden you see it played out on a big screen, you're like, whoa, it just hits you different when you know that all that work that you put in there is now touching somebody else, touching somebody somewhere else. They are relating to it. They are knowing they're not alone. That it just hits you different when you realize the impact of all that work.
Well, it hit me different just hearing you. I know, a lot about GiGi's, but to hear it straight from you was so impactful. It really, and I heard it from many friends and family who were watching. It's really impactful to think of the full scope of somebody's journey and how much you guys have built, truly.
Well, girl, I've been in a little bit longer than you. Look what you've done in how old is he? 5 now? 5 years. Amazing.
It's gonna be 5 in August.
Yeah. It's so amazing.
My birthday is in August.
August what?
2nd.
Oh my gosh, Jed's is August 1st.
Oh, how about that?
Wow.
Birthday buddies.
Yep.
Oh, that's very cool.
Love that.
Love that.
I know Gigi was definitely looking for her moment to be able to chime in. So what questions do you have, Gigi? We'll start knocking a couple of yours out early.
Okay.
We'll get back to our conversation in a minute, but I want you to get engaged.
Yeah.
What other hobbies do you have?
Oh, anything outside of Down syndrome? How about that?
Love that question. Oh gosh, I love to dance. Like if I in another lifetime, I was in dance, but it was for musical theater. So
Right.
I didn't like really, really study it. But in another lifetime, I would have loved to have just gone the distance with dancing. I feel like there is no more freeing thing than to just be out and dancing and not caring what anybody thinks and just like having fun and expressing yourself. I love
Oh
to
my gosh.
dance. So if there's a dance floor and music, or
You're
even
out
if it's not a dance floor, I'll take an aisle. Or I haven't danced on any tables, but like, like lots of spaces for
Oh
dancing.
my
I
gosh.
will be there. I'll be the person at a wedding that people are like, oh, she's had one too many, and I
Yeah.
don't actually do.
Yeah, you're like,
So
I've had none.
kind
So,
of hysterical.
yeah,
But
that's so
but
funny.
yeah, I love to dance and I love to read like a good I'm really into murder mysteries, especially like true crime.
Yeah.
So I love reading, I love watching those documentaries and shows and gosh, going to Broadway shows any chance I get.
She's at Broadway. See, she's a dancer like you.
Awesome.
Yeah, like me.
Yeah, Gigi, we'll walk. You know when
That's
you walk into the
nerdy.
stores and there's like a camera that's taking
The security camera?
The
Yeah.
security camera, she'll see herself on there, and all of a sudden, and then she just starts breaking
Any
out
chance.
dance.
I don't blame you, girl. Use it. Do it.
I was in Miss Girl too. I was.
Really? Which one?
It was I was a waitress called Pump Boys and Dinettes.
Pump Boys and Dinettes.
So fun. Did you love it?
I did.
Yeah, that's where her whole like
Her
what,
signature, her line comes from.
Yeah,
right.
what
What
was
did you
your
work
name?
for?
Tips.
what was your name though?
Oh, Betty Lou.
Well, hold your microphone up. Your name was Betty Lou,
My name was Betty Lou.
and what'd you do?
And I sang the song Tips.
Yep,
So
and that's where your whole
Ooh.
yeah.
Your whole
tips-
thing came from. That's
Yep.
actually the backstory. I don't know if we've ever even talked about that on this podcast, where you talk about and you give your tips.
It's for later.
Oh, that's for later. Oh, she can't do it
I'm
now.
aware.
Don't
Oh,
wanna-
so you're saving
Yes.
that.
Sa-
Okay.
saving that for later.
But yeah,
Okay.
that came from her time in the theater.
Yes.
Yeah.
Amazing.
I was in three
Amazing.
plays actually.
3 plays. Okay, well, but this is about Misty today,
Sorry,
not
sorry,
Gigi.
Sorry.
You and I will have a side conversation, Gigi. I want to hear all about
Yes.
it.
Okay.
See, yes, she's a Broadway girl.
It was so fun seeing you at the United Nations. Can you share what you talked about?
Can you? Share
Yes,
what
it
you
was so
talk-
fun seeing you too, and I loved hearing you speak.
Mhm.
Really, you were amazing and so inspiring to me.
Oh.
I spoke about my heart is really in community and seeing the broader picture that it can be really easy for any family. Like, look, we're in love with our children, right? So like, of course, like Jed, Clay, that's great. But like when we're talking about advocacy and making changes and being like, hey, we're here to stay and we're in it, like we have to have a bigger picture of what that means. And so I just gave a speech recently. It's saying moving from me to we, that it's not about me and my family. It's about all of us in the Down syndrome community and even broader in the disability community,
Totally.
saying we're here, we're taking up space, like it or not, we're going to show you our gifts, and we don't earn that. We don't have to earn that, but we certainly deserve a space at the table. And so that's really what my heart is for community, for new moms to know they're not alone, for new families to be like, wow, there's more people like me, and this isn't the end of my life, and I'm still going to do things, and I don't have to speak at the UN or have an amazing podcast or an international organization to make a difference. I can make a difference in my community,
Amen.
in my sphere.
100%. Yep, absolutely. Love that answer.
How is Jediah?
How old is Jed?
Jed, he's going to be 5 in August. So he's 4 years, 7 months, and he's just rocking it. He's doing so great,
Oh
and
my
he's
gosh.
just so squeezable.
Right?
Just
Gosh.
squeeze him. Just squeeze him.
Yep. And guess what?
I want you to meet him one day.
You're still gonna feel that way when he's 20 years old. It's crazy.
Yeah, I
It's
would want to squeeze Gigi.
yeah. We.
I love it.
She's like, don't.
Only Lucas.
Oh, only
Only
Lucas
Lucas
gets to
can
squeeze you.
squeeze you.
Okay, here we go.
Oh,
He fits him in. She fits him
There
into
we
every
go.
conversation. There it is. You knew it was coming, girl. You knew it was coming.
So when you're saying like I want to go back to how you just answered that last one and how it's so much about community and what you're doing and making sure that these moms and these different families can feel like, you could make an impact and you can be a part of this community without having to have all of this or having a podcast or a social media channel and all that. And I know you were just was it the Dear Mom conference this past weekend?
Yes, that's where I spoke the me to we. Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
yay.
Yeah. And I'm curious as to like, so when moms come up to you and stuff like that, like what's the most common thing that you hear from them? And what do you typically, what's that conversation look like?
Good question.
That's a great question. I think a lot of times it will be people who say, I wasn't ready to dive into community, like to go to an organization, like be physically with somebody. And so I had to sort of like lurk in the corners of
Sure.
Instagram or Facebook, which is why I am pro social media, because it really gives people a chance to observe and read and look,
kind of dip their toe in.
Yes.
Yes.
And when they're not ready to be like, I'm pregnant with a child with Down syndrome, or I just have a child with Down syndrome. Lots of people, it's not instantaneous for them.
Yeah.
And they don't have shame about that. They need to have spaces that they can go to. And so I would say most of the time it's like, wow, I really sort of lingered and lurked on your page and Happiness and lots of other pages online. And if I had not done that, I would not have been ready for this journey. But seeing other families go before me made me think maybe I can too.
Yeah.
Because the thing that I emphasize is I mean, nobody's like qualified, but my brain was like, maybe she can do this, but I can't do this.
Right.
This is not for me.
Totally.
Like, no way, Jose. No, I never knew anyone with disabilities. I don't have any background. No way. And so for me to see other people who felt that way was really empowering, because I could learn that this is a fluid journey.
Right.
We're growing and learning. I'm sure there's
Together.
things you could say that you're like, I just learned that yesterday. And I've been in this
all the time.
So I think just that reinforcement and that encouragement that you are not alone, that you can learn alongside others, and you can be honest about your fears and your worries. So hey, that's what makes us human,
Absolutely. That's such a good point, because I do think that many people do sit in the background.
Yes.
That they're dipping their toe and they're watching everything, but they're just not ready, because I think too they probably think that everyone's like celebrating that, you know what I mean,
Right.
because that's what they see. Oh, the kids are having so much fun at the programs and they're this and that.
That's very true.
I don't know if I'm gonna have fun, because almost every new family that comes in, we cry together, because I know where they're at. I know that fear. I know where they've been, but also I watch the transformation then start to happen. But you're right. Most of the time they're sitting back and they're dipping their toe in when they're going to go, when they're going to do this. Am I going to bring my mom? Do I want to bring my kids? Or, just trying to figure it out. I mean, you're navigating a brand new 24/7 diagnosis for the rest of your life. That is a big nut to swallow.
Yes, it is. And the thing is, so that's a two-sided coin, because we need to give ourselves room to grieve and to process the diagnosis.
Absolutely.
And yet we also need, I've had people say, oh, well, so many of your things are so cheery, but you're not really showing like that. And I do show the hard stuff.
Yeah,
But
of course you do.
The biggest thing is the world knows that there are challenges that come along with this journey. That message is loud and clear anywhere you go.
Yeah.
But what message is not loud and clear in enough spaces is that people like GiGi and Jed are treasures for us to be embraced and have unique gifts and abilities. And when I went to Armenia, I worked for Rod's Heroes as the creative director for outreach and advancement for people with Down syndrome. And when I went to Armenia and they were seeing moms like me from the United States who are like rejoicing in our children and celebrating our children just as they are, not to be changed.
Right.
You could see a look in their eye.
Yes.
Like, oh,
like,
I can do that?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh,
yes.
I'm sure. It's such a crazy experience to be able to see that firsthand on these families' faces.
It really was. I saw it happen real time.
Yeah.
Real time. Sophia Sanchez spoke in front of them articulately. And when you have like GiGi, when you gave your speech, like you're blowing people's minds.
Right.
Like, there are people all over the world who have no idea that
no
you
idea
have
of your potential.
Say.
Absolutely.
And here you are, like saying, this is what I love. These are the people I love. This is who I am. Right? And so we need self advocates desperately, and we need family members desperately, and we need friends of people with Down syndrome desperately to
Yes.
tell their unique experience.
It's so true. And I think, and I've thought about this, and we've talked about it a couple different times, but I think it's very possible that the greatest impact that social media has had on any person, any population of people is Down syndrome in the disability community. Because they're, like you just said, like in Armenia and these countries that aren't typically seeing people with disabilities achieving so much. Now people are able to see that, and they're going, wait, there's potential, there's opportunity
that.
there.
I didn't
And then
know.
you start
Yes.
investing, and people start realizing that it might just take a little bit of time to be able, a little bit more effort, a change in your thinking as to what you could be able to achieve. And in doing so, we're literally seeing an entire population, an entire demographic of people, their lives being transformed, and the outlook of the world changing towards them. And that's why you're right. Social media is so important in areas like that.
Yeah.
Because I think people could look at it in such a negative light as well.
And some do.
Yeah.
And there's valid reason behind that. But
Yes.
there's also the beauty in what it can change.
Yes.
It can
Oh,
transform.
like you said, in our community in particular.
Totally.
Like someone will start to go off on social media, and I'll say, you know what? I hear you, but I'm probably the wrong person to talk to about this, because if I had not had social media in the pandemic,
Yeah.
I would not have survived.
Right.
And there are, like you said, in remote villages and places where there is zero facility, zero
Nothing.
community, zero that they can hop online and find a chat or find that is invaluable
Yes.
for our community.
And exposure breeds acceptance. That's what we say all the time. And that gives us that chance to get that exposure out there, which is amazing to the masses. And you're so right about watching that change, because I remember at our Mexico location, when they first came to us, it's been 12 years to open that location. And they were like, people are still hiding our kids in their homes. They won't let them out because there's so much shame surrounded around it. And I remember the first time we went out there, we saw the position of the fathers, and they stayed. We'll be back here. We'll use our hammers to build this place, but we don't touch this. Like, they were so uninvolved. And when we went back there for their 10-year anniversary, the transformation amongst the community was amazing. The celebration of the men, especially with the kids, it was up to just the mom does this. The shame gone. The pride was there. The transformation was unbelievable. But it's in all these, there's a culture. It's a culture thing. And that was something you didn't celebrate. You didn't bring around. You stayed in your home. You didn't let them out. And that's why I remember when I had been, and I think it was at one of my very, very, very first NDSC conferences 20 years ago. And I had heard about the life expectancy for a child in Mexico. And it was like in the teens at that time. And I was devastated. And I remember praying like, oh my God, how do I help that community? And then all of a sudden, this mom comes to me and says, I want to open in Mexico. And I was like, oh, and then it happened. So what a gift from God. And then, but again, I know exactly what you're saying when you see that transformation happen. And you're right. It's through the community, like showing them, and that exposure of them being able to see it and understanding, wait a minute, he is going to learn to read. He is going to walk, because all you're told is everything he won't do. And it was such a cool thing to see that happen in Mexico, just the culture shift. And then even for the governor to come and celebrate and show the community that you celebrate this diagnosis was really amazing. It really is amazing. And I think in other countries, and we heard that, at the United Nations, how much work there is to be done for our population, for sure.
Yeah. Yes. Changing minds and hearts, one mind and heart at a time.
Yep. Absolutely. Yep. I love it.
Tell us a little bit about what you're doing with Rod's Heroes right now. I know you just started with them recently, and I know you just kind of brushed over it a minute ago, but go a little into detail there.
Oh yeah, so I've been following, I guess, sort of lurking in the corners and for a while with Rod's Heroes.
Yeah, they're amazing.
Wow, they're just doing amazing work of finding homes for kiddos with Down syndrome to be adopted, and Brady and I have sort of connected. Brady is the founder of Rod's Heroes, and we had sort of connected on Instagram, which again is another beautiful thing about social media. You find incredible individuals. You would not, he lives in Utah and I'm in New Jersey. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like I never would have known him.
Right.
And to be able to connect as advocates and parents in the community, we developed, you know, a friendship and a kinship for each other's missions. And around this time last year, he approached me and said, I would really love for you to go to Armenia with us and just share about your experience. And I was like, are you kidding me? Like, yes, you know, any chance I can to see what you guys are doing. And it was a life-altering experience to see these children with Down syndrome and other disabilities who are just so often, up until recently, it could be that the doctor would just say, you know what, your child has a disability, give them to me, we're taking them to an orphanage. It literally was almost as though the family didn't have a choice, because they were told, this is such shame, you'll shame your family and you'll shame your friends and your husband and your other kids. And so most of the time they were just shipped off to orphanages, and only a small number of mothers would be like,
absolutely
we're keeping
not.
this baby. And they would usually lose everything.
Wow.
And those were the mothers that I met, right? And like blew my mind.
Totally.
Because I don't know that I would have that kind of courage and foresight that like this child deserves my love and my attention, regardless of how anyone thinks of them.
Right.
But it's such brave mothers, and then mothers who felt like they had no other choice and would. So we got to meet these children, and they just changed me forever. They changed me forever. If I could have brought all of them home,
right,
and give Clay and Jed siblings, you know, I would have. They're just beautiful, beautiful children, and we know of 9 so far who have been adopted.
Oh, that's awesome.
So,
wow,
so you know,
all
like,
from Armenia or from all different areas?
From
that
trip, we know of 9.
Oh, okay.
I mean, just like blows your mind. Like, okay, just giving a space, giving a platform for these children in their lives to be seen, right?
Totally.
So I started there, and then he offered me an opportunity to do social media with them. So I do a lot. I do most of the social media for Rod's Heroes, but really the speaking aspect, the traveling aspect, I'll be at NDSC. I can't wait to see you guys.
Yes.
Oh yeah, we'll be there.
Okay, so I'll be at NDSC, and just the chance to like go, and my heart is really in connecting with other organizations. Like, let's figure out how we can work together to have double, triple, quadruple the impact, that we are not in competition, that we should be thinking like broad scale, right?
Absolutely. Preach, girl, because that's
really where my heart is.
Yes,
it's global,
I love hearing that. Yes.
Well, and because
that's how the change is going to happen.
Doing different things too.
Yes.
I mean, that's the thing.
And
we can't do everything at once.
Even if we're doing similar things, like we can't do
everywhere.
it all. No one person or organization can touch all the places. And so to be able to sort of divide and conquer and be like, we see you're doing this, you're rocking at this. How can we help? How can we, you know, expand the impact? And I just think that that's hugely important.
Totally.
You know? So that's kind of where my heart is with Rods, and I've loved, you know, the few months that I've been working with them.
So with the 9 kids, did they all get adopted in the U.S.?
I don't know all the details. I just know that the 9 of them are in the process, and some home.
Wow.
So.
Gotcha.
That's awesome.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're doing great stuff. I also with I'm assuming that you're working with David and Jackson as well, doing the Made with Love content.
So David and Jackson, they reached out to me early in the happiness days, and were just like, hey, can we be allies to one another? And I'm like, heck yeah, your work is incredible. And funnily enough, is that a word?
Funnily?
I like it. If it's not, it should be.
Funny enough, I just after I got asked to go to Armenia, the guys were like, hey, the Made with Love was like, hey, we want to come film you. And I was like, that's great, but I'm going to Armenia. And they were like, oh, what for? And I told them, and Jackson, being the amazing like entrepreneur, like go get 'em-er, was like, hey, do you think they need someone to film? And I was like, I don't know. I'll tell Brady about you.
Yeah.
Bada bing, bada boom. They came with us, and we've had a partnership with them ever since.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
They've been going around everywhere, getting amazing content. It's been awesome.
Amazing.
That's
amazing.
so
And
cool.
they don't even, they have a friend with Down syndrome, but the
movie's inspired by. Yeah.
Right. But it's really encouraging because they are technically outside of our community and see the magic and the spark and the joy and want to show it.
Totally.
And isn't that our dream?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's-
They're just moved by it. That was the biggest thing. I know Gigi's
Yeah.
looking at the magazine right now, and they're featured in our
There's
latest
Rod's.
magazine.
Yep, he's in there. What was I
Oh, yes, I
We-
remember. That's
we featured
amazing.
Yes.
both of them. We featured Rod's Heroes in the first issue of the magazine. The second issue, we featured David and Jackson.
Oh yeah,
So
that's right.
cool.
Yeah, so we're doing our best, the best.
Trying
we
to share
can.
the stories because we're with
Share
you.
the
There's
love.
all these amazing things happening out there, so we just want to be able to just give a platform and keep showing people who aren't seeing the amazing things all the
Yes.
incredible impacts that are being made. Because there's so
Yeah.
many. I mean, it's unbelievable.
How did you get involved? Because you helped with that New York City thing. You guys did that Broadway nights with that. What? How did you get involved with Gigi's New York?
So it's crazy because I was so again, I had the diagnosis and Jed literally didn't leave the house unless he was sick
Yeah.
for like a really long time because he was born in
Well,
August of
Of
2020. So it's like,
2020.
Yeah, it's COVID.
Yes.
do the math.
Wow.
We were so sequestered, and so I had this
Gosh.
thriving online community. But then I was like, I want to find a Gigi's, and
Yeah.
and I actually thought so. Micah Boyette, who does the Lucky Few podcast, she lives a town over from me,
Oh,
and she was
okay.
like, oh, I ran into her at like an eye doctor, and we were talking about Gigi's Playhouse, and we were like, we need one. We knew that there was one, about 50 minutes that way, and we knew there was New York City that way,
Right.
and they were both about an hour away.
Ugh.
But so we sort of felt like a little bit stuck. But a friend of mine, Vanessa Diaz, reached out to me. She had
Yes.
do you know Vanessa?
Yes. She's got
Yes.
the twins, right?
Twins,
Yes,
yes.
yes.
She's been very involved with Gigi's, and she had
Yes.
heard my name from a mutual friend, and she said, hey, I know that you haven't gotten plugged in with Gigi's yet. And I told her what I just told you. Like,
Yeah.
do I go to this one or do I go to this one? They're
Right.
both about an hour. And she said, we're doing a cabaret and I could really use your help. Like, I hear this is kind of like your
Your
area.
lane. Yeah.
So he had just sort of taken this idea and run with it. She's incredible and
Love
brilliant.
her.
And I was like, I'll help in any way I can. And so we did the first one last year, and
So
it went off
cool.
so beautifully. And we're like, okay, we're doing this every year. And so this one that we had this year, the second annual one, it was so special because we had, you guys, top notch.
I saw that.
People that have been on Broadway for so long. I mean, last year we had Chris Jackson, Hamilton, hello.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean,
But
unbelievable.
this year we had the caliber and the amount of people that we had who literally are just like Broadway amazing legends.
Yeah.
They came, but the really cool thing about it was, as spectacular as they were, and everyone was like, wow, you're amazing, they were actually more touched by
That's
what
awesome.
Gigi's is doing. And they had like, they were like, wow, like we don't get a chance to perform for something that has such a mission,
Right.
and such like how fulfilling for us. So we have these amazing performers who are like, thank you,
That's
thank
awesome.
you for this
Yes.
chance.
And forever advocates. Forever advocates now.
Yes.
So huge.
For me, just knowing like these people are working, 7 days a week, like pounding the pavement, auditions,
Yeah.
shows, all the things, and to give of their time, to volunteer their time with their talents, and then fall in love with
Right.
the mission that you guys started. It was so impactful. It
So
really
beautiful.
was.
It looked awesome. Had we not been there right before, I would have loved.
I
To have
know.
been
Well,
able to
next
just stay the
year,
weekend.
I know.
I know.
Next year for sure. It looks, and next year, I don't even know if they'll be in the new location. They're doing a flagship Gigi's in New York City. So they're opening a bigger one. I don't know where it's going to be yet. I don't know what's going on,
Yeah,
but
you
I
guys
don't.
find out the neighborhood.
Yeah, I don't know like when all that's going to happen, but that's going to be really exciting. Really, really exciting.
Wow.
Yes.
It's so impactful. So
Oh,
I
so
love,
cool.
and I'm always telling them anytime there's stuff with talent. Mia Rodriguez, who's been singing all over the place, she sang at their gala.
Oh, so cool.
I've sort of coached her a little bit, and she has amazing coaches all around her, and she's thriving and doing wonderfully.
That
So
is awesome.
we just have had such a great run
Yeah.
so far.
So cool.
If you had one message to the world, what would it be?
That's a great question. I would say tap into what makes you unique and use it for good.
Love that. That's a message, girl.
Yep.
Concise perfection. That's awesome. That was good.
Why, thank you.
That was good. I like that one. Now, what about this? So what about, we're called a little something extra. What is your little something extra? What is that superpower that drives you every single day to be this amazing advocate that you are?
I would say just the joy, the tremendous joy that Down syndrome has brought my life.
Oh,
And not just with Jed, with everyone that I have met. GiGi, like every time I get to meet someone who has that little something extra,
Oh.
you are giving me a gift. You're giving the world a gift.
totally.
And it's absolute joy. It's absolute joy doing what I do every day. Like it's not a job for
No.
me.
Yeah.
It's a mission.
I love it. I love it. Well, now we could ask about Gigi's. She wants to share her tips really quick, right, Gigi?
Yes.
You better be ready. We got a Broadway girl in front of
I
us.
know.
If you're ready,
I am.
you better be ready to
Better
clear it
warm
out
up.
and belt it.
I am, though.
Okay. I'm a little nervous.
I got it.
Okay.
Do you say tips?
I did say tips.
Tips!
Woo. Okay.
Beautiful.
Advocating for others.
Tips on advocating for others. I'll take it. Okay.
Embrace the unexpected. Be open to lessons that come with life and surprises.
Yep. I agree with that one. Embrace the unexpected. Yep.
Use your voice and skills to create a more inclusive world. Create a welcoming and inclusive space for everyone.
Okay.
Share your own experiences.
Mm-hmm.
Someone might relate to you. Don't speak about it. Do it. Volunteer or take action to support your cause.
Nice. I like
Amazing.
those. Good
My
idea.
favorite one was don't speak about it, do it. That is
Yes.
such good advice.
Right?
Like we can all have these great ideas and talk about them till the cows come home, but if we don't actually take a step to do them,
Absolutely.
that's a good tip.
Yeah. You would just still be sitting there
Wishing
wallowing,
something
not
was
knowing what to do.
changed.
Hopefully someone will do something about it, but you got up there and did something. And we're just so blessed to be a part of your life and the things that you've done. And so grateful that we're able to connect in
Yes.
person. That meant everything to me. And I know
It was
we talked and we are going to definitely be doing some more fun stuff together. There's now I'm finally in the position where I'm not so much working on building the playhouses now. Now it's really, our mission is to change the way the world sees Down syndrome and send a global message of acceptance for all. And I said, I've spent the last 20 years getting our individuals with Down syndrome ready for the world. And I'm now ready to get the world ready for them because that's still not there. So that's this next global part of my, of what I'm doing. And I'm so excited. So I'm like, I got to talk to Misty. I know she'll brainstorm with me on some things. And we can,
my gosh.
yeah, we'll have
I would
so
love
much
it.
fun. And I also loved how vulnerable, I have to tell you, you had a post that I remember feeling as a mom. And it was right after United Nations. You had United Nations, a cabaret thing. You had this, and then you kind of had a crash, and just that overwhelming feeling of all of it, of being a mom, not only just being a mom, but being a mom to a child with special needs, like all of it. And you were so vulnerable, and I was so proud of you when I read that post because I remember feeling that way. And I hope that I was honest and vulnerable. I don't remember if I was or not in those days when I felt that way, or if I just went in my shower and cried. I don't, you know what I mean? But I was so proud of you because I know that was a lot for you to step out of that from, your happiness is Down syndrome to sometimes this is my reality. And I thought it was beautiful. And I was just so proud of you as a mom because you're an amazing mom, an amazing advocate. And we're just so blessed to be on this journey with you and just excited to be doing more.
Oh, I feel the same way. And I'm so grateful for you and the work that you've done and for the groundwork you laid before Jed was even here.
Oh,
Thank you so
well,
much for all of your dedication. I'm so grateful to Gigi's and to you guys.
oh, well, thank you,
More of
baby.
it, truly.
Yes, I'm blessed. Like you said, you talked about the siblings. It is true. When I look at my other kids, I could not have made them who they are today without her. So that sibling thing is very true. There's just a whole different makeup that they
Yeah, you just kind of just develop a little differently.
Yeah.
I think that you develop with a little
empathy
bit
and-
more patience. You
Yeah.
have a little bit more empathy to you, and I
Compassion.
think that you live a little bit more of a life of service.
Totally.
And that's not just me. I mean, that's any sibling of a person with a disability, Down
Yes.
syndrome specifically. I mean, you see people going into all these different. They go into physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech and language pathology, doctors, I mean, so many different areas, social work, and it's just all about helping people. And it's because they've spent their life growing up, wanting to help and helping others, whether it's their sibling, their siblings' peers, their peers. I mean, whoever. So
Yeah.
it's just a beautiful thing, and I think it's a blessing, in disguise. And I
Yeah.
think that's for all families. I mean, it's for the siblings, it's for the parents, it's for the grandparents, it's for everyone out there. I think we're all impacted, in the most beautiful way possible.
And I think that fear, like for me, was, like I knew how they were making me feel at the hospital, like so much less than, and this was what it was going to do to my other kids. My biggest fear was that. And I have new families that come to the Playhouses, pregnant moms that come to the Playhouses and ask me about that. A lot of it is about the siblings and that sibling component and what's it going to do to them. And I go, make them better. Make them better.
Yes.
That's it. Don't be afraid of that part. You can be afraid of other things. Don't be afraid of that because that's where it's going to go.
Oh,
All right.
I hear that. And honestly, Franco, I hope and pray that that's true for my Clay. He had a teacher conference the other day and they were telling me about his math and his reading. He's doing great. But I said, at the end of the day, is he being kind?
Oh.
Is he telling other people he's included? Because that's what I care about.
Right.
Like,
Exactly.
he's gonna be fine.
He'll
I
be
want him to be a
just
good
fine
human.
in that.
Yes,
He
he-
definitely will be. He's
Yes.
definitely on track for that. There's no doubt.
Yes.
If he's got Jed as his brother and you as his mom, there's no doubt
Oh,
that's
yeah.
gonna be happening.
Yes. And it sounds like an amazing grandparent. I mean, grandpa and the rest of your family. Just
Yes.
like, thank you,
Yeah,
God,
they
for
all
all
do
of it.
wonderful.
Right.
Yes,
Well, it
thank
was
you, God. That's
so
right.
good having you on here today. We're so blessed to connect not only on our podcast, but then also at the United Nations, right? And we're
Yes,
just,
and I would love to have you guys on my podcast one day so we'll
yes,
connect.
for sure.
Yes, let us know.
Yeah.
When and where.
Yes.
We'll be there.
Awesome. All right, girl. Well,
Awesome.
thank you
Thank
so
you so
much. Mwah, mwah. Love you.
Love you.
Everybody is born with a little something extra, and sometimes they just have to find it. A little something extra is that superpower that every single one of us has inside that motivates us and drives our passion and makes us do the things that we do.
We're all on the same team. Let's think about how we can make that team as inclusive as we can.
For those of you listening to our podcast right now, you can also check out our video podcast at alittlesomethingextrapodcast.org.